Anyways, one day, he rode me so hard, I chased him in the cooler. I threatened to kick his ass. I said, I don't care how old you are, I'm going to drop you right here. I was shaking. My body was shaking, my hands were trembling. But I was pissed. He had brought me to the limit of violence. What do you think his reaction was? He started hysterically laughing. Like, I mean, fucking hard. Grabs me, gives me this huge hug, real tight. Like, you know, it was like one of those hugs like, holy fuck, this guy, like, it was one of those hugs like, holy fuck, does this guy love me? You know, it was like one of those hugs. And that was the truth. He actually did love me. He knew I was a young kid. And he knew I was scared. He knew I knew nothing about life, and you know, among teaching me how to be a meat cutter, he was going to teach me some other lessons, and those lessons came through riding me every day. So things would say burnt in my head. That was his way of teaching. And the reason he started laughing was because finally he was so happy that I finally confronted him and confronted my fear and confronted that issue to challenge what makes you feel uncomfortable. He was so proud of me.
That most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes ever because it's true. You're just in this world where you just can't wait to just run away. But I think one of the reasons why these people have this deep-seated anger and resentment is there's a bunch of people out there that have these lives that are deeply unsatisfying, because I think there are so many people that are working all day long doing something that is deeply unsatisfying and almost painful.
Yeah, soul killing.
Soul killing.
Yeah.
They're stuck in traffic all day, and then they're stuck in a cubicle after that. They relish the time to take a shit in the bathroom and look at their phone. I mean, they literally do that. That's a highlight of someone's day. They get in traffic on the way home. They get home after that, they're watching television, and they're f***ed. If people have a regular day job, if you could just find some one thing that you do as a passion project and just keep building on it, just keep watering it, keep adding fertilizer, keep giving it attention, keep giving it focus, and you can escape. You can escape, and you can be self-serving. You could be okay. You're gonna be okay. Making furniture feels good. If you make furniture for a living, and you feel a great satisfaction out of that, and you sell that furniture, look, man, if you can do that, you could cut those corners perfectly and sand everything down nice and stain it, and then it's done, and you get the satisfaction, and you sell it to someone, and that pays your bills. That is infinitely more satisfying than being stuck in some fucking cubicle working for someone that you don't want to work for, having to have these stupid fucking office meetings, talking to people in human resources, sitting down with your supervisor where they evaluate your job performance, and you know you're not really, you really need to be enthusiastic about this company. This company is your future. This kind of like, you're like, fuck, kill me now. You know, there's a lot of people out there that would way rather do something else, and I hope they understand that they can. And people that are trapped in bad situations, one of the problems is you feel like this is your future. You feel like you're fucked and you can't get out of that. There's no hope. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no rainbow. And if you feel like that, that alone can be incredibly defining and limiting. But if you can look at yourself objectively and say, okay, I kind of am fucked here. I'm in credit card debt. I'm working in a shitty job. I don't like what I'm doing, but I have some ideas. I need to feed those fucking ideas. And I need to feed them and water them, and I need to set aside a certain amount of time every day to just try to make those things happen. You can do that. Everyone has a different personality. They have different interests, different things that they would be really satisfied pursuing. That's not encouraged. What's encouraged is go find a job. What's encouraged is go find some place that you can shove yourself into. Go find a square hole that you can stick your round peg and just fucking jam it in there and shave down the top and the bottom so you slide in with all this extra space on the sides and feel like shit for the rest of your life, because you need a job, because you're in debt, because you have credit cards, because you have student loans, because that's what everybody does. And so you do it too. That's what's wrong. You have an apartment you have to pay for. You have a car you leased. You have a wife that you have to feed. You have a child you have to raise. You have your mortgage. You have your this. You have your that. And that's where it all comes from. Well, the opportunity takes place usually when you're young and you don't have any responsibility. That's when you have your options. Well, your options are severely limited the more you gather responsibilities. Like, if I had to, as a 51-year-old father of 3, married man, pays taxes, has a house and a mortgage and a business and all that jazz. If I had to quit everything now and struggle the way I struggled as a stand-up comedian, it would never work. But the only way I could be this person now is if I took that chance when I was 21, when I was dead broke and had my cars repossessed and all that stuff. That's the only way you ever get where you want to go. You have to take a path that's dangerous. And most people want to take the safe path. And the safe path leaves you stuck in quiet desperation. Almost every time. It's hell. It's hell.
But can people just make that change? I mean,
yes,
look,
you can,
I believe they
but
can.
you have to plan it out. The way you can change is you have to put aside enough money to give yourself a window. And then you have to have a plan. And you have to spend all your waking hours outside of whatever job you do planning your escape. And you have to come to the realization very clearly that you f***ed up and you got yourself stuck. So whatever you're doing, you have to do it like your life depends on it. And whether it is you're trying to be an author and if you're gonna try to be an author and you're working 8 hours a day plus commuting plus family responsibilities or whatever else you have, whatever time that you have to attack like you're trying to save the world. You're trying to save your life. You don't want to drown. That 1.5 hours a day that you have to write, god damn, you better be caffeinated and motivated. You got to go. You got to get after it. And you got to have discipline. Most people don't have those things. Most people don't understand what it's like to really go for something. And to know that the consequences of not doing that are horrific. I think here's an important thing too. Failure is important.
It is important.
I think failure teaches you things that you don't learn from success. I think failure gives you an opportunity for self-examination and also gives you a feeling that is very uncomfortable. And that very uncomfortable feeling helps you grow. That when you feel like you screw something up, like when I've had bad podcasts, my podcast has always gotten better afterwards. When I've had bad stand-up sets, I've always gotten better after that because those bad sets motivate you. They give you a perspective like, hey, here's some clear examples of where you f***ed up.
Yeah, what not to do.
Yeah, don't look at these failures as like proof that you suck. Look at them as opportunities for growth. Look at them as opportunities to be motivated to do better. You have to make mistakes. You've been there, you feel it, you understand what it is, and then you have that time to adjust. That's why losing in life is so important. Whether it's getting dumped, getting fired, losing a game, loss. Those feelings where things didn't work out your way, that's important because it lets you know this is the bad feeling that comes when it goes wrong, and you improve, and then it makes the good feelings of victory all the better. And I mean that, in a relative sense, like even getting good at something. Forget about victory, like making a terrible book that gets rejected by every publisher and then writing a really good one and people accept it and you're like, fuck, I got better. Yes. Like that's feeling.
Interesting, yeah.
Those feelings of failure are really critical for your motivation. You see an old person walking down the street, you go, oh, that person's always been an old person. No, that was a baby. That was a baby that became a 90-year-old man. There's a progression that you're not witness to. You don't see it. And that takes place in everything. It takes place in authors. It takes place in comedians and musicians. There is a starting point, and then with time and focus, and as long as you reevaluate and reassess and constantly objectively look at what you're doing and then pursue it with passion and focus, you get better at things. Don't be scared of failure. I think failure is awesome for you.
Fear. That can be a motherfucker, isn't it? It could be debilitating. It could stop us from enjoying the things in life. It can keep us sharp. Having the fear can help us make better decisions. Fear is one of those things, though. Like when you see it and you recognize it in someone, it really is. It really takes you back, you know, and you, because you can, what's the word I'm looking for, sympathize, because you've been through a sense of fear and you can see it in that person, so you can relate, and you wish you could help. Where am I going with this? We'll start with a story. Story time. Anyways, I remember being afraid all the time when I was a kid. I mean, constantly. Fear of girls, fear of bullies, fighting, fear of doing bad in school. Always scared. And I remember I loved drinking. And I think you know what I loved about drinking? Drinking gave me confidence. I wasn't afraid of nothing. I was drinking, right? Fair assessment, eh? You guys know the people. Had a few more drinks and all of a sudden they got their confidence and they're cocky and they're fucking assholes, or you know what I mean? They get all this confidence back. You know? Why am I not scared of something if I'm not drunk? But what I do remember about being scared, it just dictated everything in my life. It just dictated everything. Everything. And that lasted all the way through high school. Not much about the girls, you know? But, fear of confrontation, definitely. Definitely. But the thing was, not knowing, of course, I was bipolar at the time, which is a mood disorder. So you have fear compounded with a manic escalation of that emotion. So it created quite a lot of anxiety. And I think through that fear and anxiety, I developed something called psychomotor agitation. It's when you rock in your sleep, you tap your foot, you know, and then it's a way you provide comfort, I think it is, or it's a kind of a tic that develops because of it. Not really sure, but it definitely stemmed from fear. A lot of sleepless nights, you know, just rocking back and forth, your mind's racing, you know, like, oh, I gotta face that tomorrow. But the funny thing is, it was like a double-edged sword for me. Being bipolar, the manic side of me, it was like it's like a drug. It's like a rush, right? You know, being scared is one thing, but being terrified's a whole other thing, right? And I would find myself unknowingly trying to find that terror in fear with things, you know. It was like, you know, it wasn't about consciously trying to get over my fears. It was just, it's almost like I was addicted to being terrified. It fed this manic part of me when I was a kid. Example, you know, if I knew confronting that girl would make me super, super nervous, you know, well, I knew if I tried to kiss her, that'd be terrifying, right? So I used to do a lot of fucking just over-the-top shit. You know, risky. I'd take huge risks when I was a kid. Huge. You know, like really stupid things, you know. I couldn't tell you how many close calls I had as a kid. Just, whether it be climbing water towers or just taking these huge risks on my bike, these massive jumps, you know, just crazy shit. But one of my most terrifying moments was with bullies, and I have had my share of them, believe me. Um, but I can recall walking down the street and seeing a group of kids who I knew was going to be confrontational with, and getting my ass handed to me on one side of the road, and I could easily had time to divert and go another way. But I never did. I always kept on the path straight for them because it terrified me. So like I said, this lasted all through high school, and that. Then I got a job at Loblaws in the meat department. Now this was a whole other kind of fear that I had no idea how to handle. This fear made me fucking insane. These old time meat cutters would just ride me, and they would ride me and ride me. It was a whole other thing. This wasn't just, confront a bully here, or have a situation with a girl here, or a fight with your parents here, or whatever. This was just like constant riding, just drove me fucking insane, made me so angry. It was all because I was scared. One of the guys, one of the old cutters that used to ride me, he must have been in his 60s at the time, probably 64. I was, early 20s, maybe 18, 19, somewhere in there. Anyways, one day, he rode me so hard, I chased him in the cooler. I threatened to kick his ass. I don't care how old you are, I'm going to drop you right here. I was shaking. My body was shaking, my hands were trembling. But I was pissed. He had brought me to the limit of violence. What do you think his reaction was? He started hysterically laughing. Fucking hard. Grabs me, gives me this huge hug, real tight. It was like one of those hugs, holy fuck, this guy, it was one of those hugs holy fuck, does this guy love me? It was like one of those hugs. And that was the truth. He actually did love me. He knew I was a young kid. And he knew I was scared. He knew I knew nothing about life, and among teaching me how to be a meat cutter, he was going to teach me some other lessons, and those lessons came through riding me every day. So things would stay burnt in my head. That was his way of teaching. And the reason he started laughing was because he was so happy that I had finally confronted him and confronted my fear and confronted that issue to challenge what makes you feel uncomfortable. He was so proud of me. I think he's probably took me too long to do it, but we had talked about it later, and that was a very proud moment for him. Brought me to the next evolution as a man type thing. Some would say that's definitely not the way he should have done it. Looking back at it now, and I became a meat cutter, among other things, but we'll get to that stuff later. I understand what he was doing, and I totally believe that he was right. In that business at the time, there was no social justice shit and fucking, what's the word? Political correctness. You worked with it's a trade. This comes with a certain mentality. It's this work hard, grind hard, play hard, kind of a work environment. Whether you're on an oil rig or a drywaller, it's just a different thing, right? A very unique business, but he was trying to teach me lessons as a man. He wanted me to be scared anymore. He was being his father figure, right? Um, Everything changed after that. It was like almost like I had this badge of honor. And before you know it, I found myself in his role years later. Oh. The only difference is, when I was at Loblaws, there was only one of me. Meat cutters only had to groom one kid. In my career, it was like I had kids every day. I had to turn into men, or help them with their careers in the sense that, okay, listen, I'll give you an example. This one kid, that was it. I broke him, right? I broke him. He punches the wall, runs out of the apartment, fucking screaming, yelling, "I'll fucking kill you!" And ran after him, took him to the side. And I explained to him, I says, "You want to be management here someday? Do you want to have a career in this company? Do you want to be a leader someday?" He goes, "Yeah." "Well, how are you going to do that if you're afraid of me? If you're afraid of confrontation? You're going to have to hire people, fire people. You're going to have to dictate things. You're going to have to be disciplinary. How can you do that if you can't be that way with me?" And he just looked at me, and boom, the light bulb went off, right? I imagine he took all those skills and that knowledge, and I don't know what he's doing today, but I know he's doing the business. But the question is was it right? Was it the right thing to do? In the 80s, 90s, yeah. In my time, it was for a while. Then the world changed. Believe me, I tried everything I could to stop it from changing. But in the end, I was outgunned. Is the business better for it today? Simply, there is no meat cutter business today. There isn't that business today. And I would imagine that there is no men of that character today. It's all about entitlement, not facing confrontations, going behind people's back to confront them and have someone else do it for them. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's pretty sad, and I watched it unfold in front of me, and pretty hard pill to swallow. But I tell you, nothing was more satisfying was seeing that change in that kid. From being shy and quiet, to walking with his head up, with confidence, outspoken, it was like a drug. It was a drug. Watching these kids turn into these men, men that you can be proud of, right? Sometimes they'd sway, but the great thing about it is you're with them 8 hours a day, so you can keep an eye on them, and pull them back on the right direction, and then even if you get to the point where next thing you know you're becoming their father, right? You're helping them with girl issues, with drug problems, or you name it. Next thing you know, you're, holy fuck, what am I doing here? You completely forget about yourself because you're too busy, taking care of all these people, right? But it makes you happy doing that part of the job, right? I remember one story. There was this kid. His name was Jerry. I mean, a real quiet guy, really reserved. And I'm like, you guys hired him for this place? For this business? Who the fuck's working in human resources to think that this guy's going to survive in this place? So, I just had in my mind that I was going to look after this kid. He worked in a deli, but he had to walk through the meat department to get to the cooler. Every time he walked by, I'd yell, "Jerry!" I'd just scream his name. Every time. I couldn't tell you how many days this went on for, maybe even years. Till one day, I finally hear, "Scott!" He yells back right in my face, like this close. Oh, I looked at him, I grabbed him, I give him this big hug. I said, "Welcome to the world, buddy. Welcome to the world." It was a metamorphosis. You see the guy strutting around, everyone's saying hi to him, he's saying hi to people, he's got a different bounce to his step. You know, incredible, absolutely incredible. But it was all done through fear. Using fear as a positive. That's the thing. You know, people are quickly misjudged. You know, from the outside, I was just this tyrant. I was this fucking tyrant, right? Which couldn't be further from the truth. And I really missed that part when I left that business, or forced out, whatever you want to call it. That's what I missed the most. Looking back, I missed that. I missed the teaching part of it. You know, the father figure part of it, the brother part of it. You know. But I knew I could never cut meat again. But still I had to feed that part of me, right? Oh, is it time? Is it time to finally talk about this? Oh. How will we talk about one aspect of this job? There was a time I was muscle for hire, if you will. My main responsibility was to collect debt. And I've seen gentlemen do this job with the attitude they got off on the fear, right? It wasn't about. They just enjoyed putting the fear of God into people. You know, they enjoyed hurting people. Me, not so much. What I enjoyed, and what I got off on, was keeping you scared to a point that you would pay your bills. That would, Your fear of me would keep you out of trouble. Your fear of me would keep me from doing something physical. You know, if I could do that, I did my job, and I did my job well. You know, if I had to resort to violence or resort to anything beyond fear, I failed at my job. You know, it's power corrupts, right? Power corrupts. You know, talking to those meat cutters earlier on, you know, they taught me a very valuable lesson when it came to fear. You know, and the sort of looking for. The benefits that come with self-confidence, but true self-confidence, not cocky, I can see through your bullshit confidence. You know, they always taught me, you know, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut your fucking mouth. If you don't know you're right, you know, shut your fucking mouth. You know, they said the best way to show that confidence is never put yourself in a position that you look anything else but stellar. Make sure when you do say something and you do attack something, attack with ferocity. Just make sure you're right, you know. And if you're not, you know, make sure you take it on the fucking chin. He says having that philosophy over time will change your life dramatically and yield you a lot of character points, you know. When I first moved out to this country life, I had a fear of bugs. Well, you can't live in a place like this and have a fear of bugs. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. So I had to conquer that motherfucker. You know, and attack it. You know, otherwise, you know, it would have debilitated my stay here. I couldn't have enjoyed what I have here if I was in this constant state of fear. So I worked at it, and next thing you know, I got spiders crawling up my legs, and just give it a flick and call it a day. I even find myself sometimes saving, I'm doing dishes and a spider or one of those bugs from outside get caught in the sink and gets caught in the water while I'm doing dishes. I found myself a few times scooping it out and placing it on the fucking counter. You know, it's not that I would feel guilty killing a bug. It's just, I don't know, it's not doing anything to me. And why not help a bug out, right? I just think it's good karma. You know? Was I even trying to make a point when I started this video? I don't even know if I was trying to make a point. I think I was just saying how interesting fear is. You know? The different perspectives of fear, right? Like I said, I was misjudged for the way I used call fear a skill, but it was for greater good, right? I guess the point I'm trying to say, maybe what I'm trying to say here is I want to kind of forgive myself Even though I may have given a few people some sleepless nights for the way I did things, whether it be in the meat trade or other means, it was always for the greater good. And I'd like to think, I'd like to hope that anyone who's come my way throughout that journey has realized that about myself, has went through their life as a man and like, oh, I remember that fucking asshole. Now I understand what he was doing, or now I understand what he meant. You know, or collecting. It's like, oh man, I'm glad that guy was like that, man. He really, you know, he could have done this, and you know, and he set me straight, you know. I didn't see another way of doing things. It didn't make sense. Once something was taught to me, and the light bulb went off, I'm like, God damn it, yeah. You know, and it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you feel like, oh, I want to share this with someone. I want to use what I've learned to help that next person or whatever, you know. Or we could turn around and say, oh, I want to use this for my own selfish needs and further my own self-interest. But I was definitely the other way. For sure. But before you know it, you wind up in trouble because that is going against the grain. That's not how things are done. Most people using fear have zero intentions of using that fear for good. It's all about using it for bad, intimidation, their own self-interest. So you find yourself butting heads with those people. And when you come across those people, nothing makes you want to take those people down than when you see that person using fear on someone else for their own self-interest. You can recognize it. I know that guy's not riding that guy or putting the fear of God in that guy for a good reason. You can see it. You know? And nothing got me off more than recognizing it and then attacking that person out of bed and everything. I'm like, yeah, I'll show you what fear is, pal. I'll show you what fearlessness is, pal. You know? And that got me in a lot of trouble. Got a lot of trouble in the corporate setting, and it also got me in a lot of trouble in a non-civilian manner. But lucky in a non-civilian manner, there was a level of respect there that's rewarded. Unlike corporate, where that behavior is not rewarded. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of like pleading something here. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I guess this is me trying to find peace for some things, I guess. We'll see you guys again. Take care of yourselves, see each other. God bless you all.
I know you think there's something wrong with me. You gotta listen to my